this is Waning Crescent, and welcome back to Project DOT. You may have noticed a difference in upload times between the last video and this one. The area I was working on required quite a few new mechanics, and although I had finished the level design in time, I needed the mechanics to be there as well, otherwise showing off would be mostly pointless. I hope it was worth the wait. To start with the most obvious change, there are now walls across the entirety of the map, stopping the player from seeing the entire level design just from one point. This is the first platforming area of the game. If you fall onto the ground, then you will be teleported to the respawn point that you last touched, which is the last solid ground you touched outside of the platforming area. When the player takes the route on the right, they will find that they cannot make it to the rightmost path. In the final version, there will be a path which goes forward from here. If the player takes the left path, they'll encounter a new obstacle. If the player stands within these red searchlights, they will generate a virus. Once the player gets past, they arrive at a block switcher. This can be used to get to the area that was previously locked on the right. At the entrance to the next area, a new mechanic is introduced to the player: bounce pads. These will be used later in the dungeon, in a more difficult setting, so getting the player used to them now will help them later on. I am also starting to add hidden rooms to the dungeon, such as this one that is hidden below the stairs. It can also only be accessed with the new crouch that I made. It's simple, but effective. This leads to another platforming section. There are two sets of platforms, one being easier than the other, which will be explained later on. This section was inspired by basalt pillars on the coast. It creates interesting terrain and breaks up the monotony of the level design. To finish off what I have with the level so far, there is this final dropping section which loops you back. As well as making all this, I started on one of the key systems for the game, virus, and how it affects the level. When this obstacle is grey, when it is collided with, it will generate virus, but when virus is activated for this object, it will then do damage to you. There are also various sections where platforms will sink into pits to make platforming more difficult. I've tried to make sure that there's a decent variety of effects that virus can cause. That's all I have for this video. Today's art piece is of my favourite Pokemon, Minior, in the shape of the Big Dipper. Waning Crescent, signing off.